In today's video, we are going to go into the raised bed garden and we're going to pick some vegetables and we're going to make a cut flower arrangement. And I'm going to share with you a recipe for jalapeno popper chicken and some cucumber tomato salad. Hi, it's Steph. If you've been around for a while, welcome back. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. This is a summertime edition of Hooked and Rooted at Home. I am primarily a gardening channel here at Hooked and Rooted, but in the winter months when I live here in the Northeast and I can't be outside gardening because the garden is dormant, I had done a few episodes of Hooked and Rooted at Home, which involves a little bit of gardening and sharing of some home life. And with that includes some recipes. And currently my garden is being so productive. It's giving me some beautiful blooms pretty regularly now, as well as some vegetables. So today I thought that I would share with you a fan favorite here at our house. It's a recipe for jalapeno popper chicken. And I have lots of jalapenos from the garden. I also have some cucumbers and some cherry tomatoes. So I thought that I would also share with you a cucumber tomato salad. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of cooking from the garden. I'm having a snack before I start on the meal, and my little reindeer is waiting for a snack. Anytime that I'm cooking in the kitchen, he loves green beans. What else do you like? Celery. He likes cantaloupe. And watermelon is his favorite. Is that good, Rocco? Jalapeno popper chicken is essentially a stuffed chicken. So you're going to need some thin chicken breast. So you can either get the thin sliced chicken breast or you can get chicken breast that you cut yourself and pound it thin, about a 1/4 inch thick. And then we're going to make the filling. Now, when it comes to cooking, I've been cooking for a long time, so I cook a lot by eye. So if I'm not following a recipe, I kind of just eyeball things. So I'm going to do my best to go slow and explain to you what I'm using and approximately how much of each thing, so that, or of each ingredient, so that you can sort of follow along and hopefully be able to make this recipe should you decide to. But it is really delicious. And one quick thing about these jalapenos. So when I picked my jalapenos off of the vine, they had some cracking on them. Now this happens every year, and I was curious about what this is. So a couple of years ago, I looked it up, and what this is called is corking. And the process that happens is once your jalapeno is growing faster on the inside than it is on the outside, you will start getting these kind of stress lines, sort of like stretch marks, and they have this tan appearance that looks like cork. So hence the term corking, but they're perfectly good to eat. And so if you notice that on a couple of the jalapenos that I'm going to use, that is what it is. So to make jalapeno popper chicken, you need about 2 jalapenos. You're going to need the chicken we already talked about, some jalapenos, some scallions or chives. You're going to need some olive oil, a lime, and some panko breadcrumbs. Now I have Italian style and I also have the plain ones. It doesn't matter which one you have. I just happened to go to the store when I ran out and they only had the Italian, so that's what I picked up. You're also going to need some bacon bits. Now you can fry up bacon and use those, or you can use the prepackaged bacon bits. You're also going to need some cream cheese. We're going to use 4 ounces of cream cheese, some shredded Mexican cheese or some kind of pepper jack mix. You can even use like the Colby Jack and cheddar. And for seasonings, you're going to need some black pepper, some salt, and some paprika. I really prefer the smoked paprika, but regular paprika is just fine. The first thing I'm going to do is make my filling. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I want my cream cheese to soften so that it's easier for me to stuff my chicken with once I have my chicken prepped. So to make your filling, you're going to need 4 ounces of cream cheese. So that is a half a bar of cream cheese. Now, in terms of how much chicken this will make, I usually make about 2 pounds of chicken, anywhere from 1.5 to 2 pounds. This is a 2-pound package. And sometimes it's easier if you just cut your cream cheese before you even open it up. That way you can keep half intact and back in the fridge, and you can open up this half. I did already wash my hands. Really important before you start cooking. Okay, so now once you have your cream cheese in your bowl, you're going to add your other ingredients. And I'm going to add some bacon bits and some cheese. And I'm just going to eyeball this. It usually ends up being about half of this 2.5 ounce container. This is just going to flavor the stuffing. And I'm actually going to start pressing it down so that I can continue to season it. I'm just using a spatula. Some black pepper. Not too much because you're going to put your jalapenos in here too. A little bit of salt, but since the bacon already has salt, I don't put too much. Some paprika, and I'm using smoked paprika. Some shredded Mexican cheese, or like I said, you can use a cheddar and Colby Jack mix. And I would say I use about a cup of this. And I'm also going to cut up my jalapenos and my scallions. I usually just cut these with some kitchen shears into my bowl. And I really like the flavor of chives and scallions, so I will use a good amount. These are a great herb to grow in your garden. They're so useful and add so much onion type flavor to recipes. And they are a perennial herb, so they come back year after year. Plant them once and have them always. I think that's pretty good. I'll save the rest for some scrambled eggs in the morning. All right, now we'll prep our jalapenos. All right, I've rinsed my jalapenos and now they're ready to chop up. Now, when you're working with jalapenos, the seeds are the hottest part. So you want to be really careful. Try to get the seeds off without touching them too much. And if you do touch them, well, regardless, wash your hands really well after you handle jalapenos. I made the mistake of touching my eyes once after peeling them. It wasn't pleasant. And that is it. That is all of the components that you need for your filling. Now it'll take a few minutes for the cream cheese to finish softening, so I will get back to finish incorporating these after I prep my chicken. So you can see that my chicken is pretty thin, and that is what you need so that the chicken will fold over with the stuffing. All right, to prep my chicken, I would cut off any bits, usually fat pieces, etc., clean it all up. But this one looks pretty good, so there's not much cleaning that I need to do. But I am going to go ahead and season it with some salt and pepper. some black pepper. Again, you don't need much because the jalapenos already have a little bit of a kick. This is just to season it. Now there's one last piece that you need to coat the outside of the chicken, and that is going to be your breadcrumbs or your panko crumbs and your lime. So we are going to go ahead and prep the liquid that we're going to dip it in to coat it with the breadcrumbs. You're going to need 2 bowls. One for your breadcrumbs and one for your lime and olive oil mixture. So you're going to need the juice of 1 lime, and this is going to act as the binding agent. So similar to how you would use like an egg wash to dip your chicken in before you put it in some flour or some breadcrumbs, the same thing is what this lime is doing. And then we add some olive oil. And I would usually just pour, but I will go ahead and measure out 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Okay. And if you need more, you can have an extra lime on hand and the olive oil, and you can make another batch, similar with the panko breadcrumbs. All right, so then once you have your mixture mixed, your chicken seasoned, it is time to stuff and dip it in the breadcrumbs. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish mixing this up. It should be kind of like a paste. And that will hold all of your ingredients together. You can use a spoon. In this case, I'm just using a silicone spatula. And you also want to grease the casserole that you're going to use. I have here what I believe to be a 9 by 13. And I'm just going to go ahead and drizzle some olive oil in it. And I'm just going to brush it. This is just so that the panko breadcrumbs won't stick to the bottom or burn. You could also use a nonstick spray, like a PAM if you have one, or an olive oil spray. That would work just fine as well. All right, time to stuff our chicken. Now, how much you take, really, you just use your eye for measurement. And I'm just going to take a piece, flip it over, the side that I didn't season, and I'm going to put some stuffing in it. And this stuffing is going to keep the chicken breast closed and sealed. So you don't really need to put a toothpick in it, but you could if you wanted to. And then once that's done, you're going to dip it in your lime and olive oil mix so that it will then stick to your panko breadcrumbs. And you're going to shimmy that in there quite well, pressing it in to make sure that the breadcrumbs stick. Because remember, you're just using olive oil and lime. So it's not as binding as an egg. Press it in and then carefully transfer it to your casserole dish. That's it. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat that process. And I forgot to mention this before, but when you're prepping your chicken, you want to preheat your oven to 425 degrees. So now I'm all done breading my chicken, and the last step would be to spray your chicken with some olive oil. Now, that is so that the breadcrumbs don't burn on top while it's in the oven. I had a small bottle that I would put my olive oil in, and I used it as a sprayer when I sauteed vegetables, etc. But I dropped it recently when I was working in the kitchen, and it made quite a mess. had olive oil everywhere. So I have one on order as a replacement. But for now, I just picked up this olive oil spray at Aldi to use. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spray the top. I tried brushing on olive oil, but I will knock my panko breadcrumbs right off. So it wasn't going to work. So we're going to go ahead and use this spray. And we're just going to coat the top of the panko breadcrumbs. And then we're going to pop this in the oven for 40 to 45 minutes. So your chicken is going to go into your 425-degree oven for anywhere from 40 to 45 minutes. After 40 minutes, check out the top. If it looks nice and golden, you can take it out or you can leave it for a few more minutes. And it is going in uncovered. And you can see that I already have some roasted potatoes going, which take about the same amount of time as the chicken to cook. So I prepped those in advance, popped them in the oven while I finished prepping my chicken. I did share the recipe for my roasted potatoes in episode 3 of Hooked and Rooted at Home. It's really easy recipe. You just chop up some red potatoes, put some olive oil on them and some seasoning and pop them in the oven. And I will share that video link in the description of the video as well as in the pinned comment. It makes a great side for chicken, pork, and beef. It's delicious. Now that my chicken and my potatoes are in the oven, while they're cooking, I'm going to go ahead and make my cucumber tomato salad. And that will give a chance for all of the flavors to sort of marry and marinate while we finish up dinner. So to do this, super easy. A cucumber from the garden, some cherry tomatoes. You can also do it with regular slicer tomatoes, some onion, salt and pepper, as well as some red wine vinegar and some olive oil. And we're going to go ahead and start by chopping up our vegetables. I've already washed my cucumber and my tomatoes, and I'm going to go ahead and start with cutting my onion. Now, you don't need a lot of onion. I'm just going to use about a half. And I'm going to slice it nice and thin. It's almost like you're shaving the onion. I cut this one too thick, so I'm just going to leave it to the side. I usually like to take some of the seeds out of the cucumber. And your tomatoes. And I'm just going to slice my cherry tomatoes in half. All right. And your last step is just to season your salad. So you want to add some salt. And again, I like to use this pink Himalayan sea salt. And some black pepper. And you can season this to taste. So you can add as much salt or as much pepper as you would like. And then some red wine vinegar. And some olive oil. And that is it. You could either put it in the refrigerator while dinner finishes up, or you can just leave it on the counter if you prefer it room temp. That is what it looks like. All right, my jalapeno popper chicken is out of the oven and it's looking really good. So at some point around the 40-minute mark, you can assess the doneness. You can see how the chicken is cooked as well as how golden the breadcrumbs look. And so mine ended up taking closer to the 45 minutes and it looks really nice. And so I'm gonna go ahead and plate up our dinner. And there it is, jalapeno popper chicken with some cucumber tomato salad and some roasted potatoes. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get to eating, but this is the recipe for my jalapeno popper chicken. I hope that you'll try it out in your own kitchen and let me know in the comments below what you think. Now, I will plan on sharing one more recipe with some produce from the garden that we make often here, probably in the next couple of weeks, but I will be honest, it's kind of hard for me to make these videos because YouTube doesn't usually favor these types of videos from my channel because it's used to me being a gardening channel. So many times when I put out a Hooked and Rooted at home with some cooking segments, the videos don't get much views and they don't get really seen by many people, which can be disheartening after putting this much effort into a video. But I do have a playlist called Hooked and Rooted at Home if you want to check out some of those videos with some additional recipes. So thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I will catch you in the next one. So George, what do you think of my jalapeno popper chicken?
A+.
Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button. And please consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos. And we'll see you soon.